out of the defense. Let's go across to Bino Pathiparampil, who joins in from Elara. Bino, what was, there was a fair amount of optimism around, the opportunity that the Biosecure Act would bring about. But now, it's been taken out, there is some pessimism. But do you think that is unwarranted because it may be back in some form or the other under some other head?
Yeah, the Biosecure Act, as I understand, is not completely out. It may still come, but I think it would see some delays. The current Congress is winding up. A new Congress has to come in early next year. Before that, if the Act goes through in some form or the shape, it can be a positive. But if it doesn't get through this Congress, then the whole process may have to start again altogether, which means a delay of at least 12 months in my estimate. And possibly the shape of the law can also change with some provisions diluted, etc. So all these add to the uncertainties of the sector, which has already priced in a significant benefit coming from the Act. So as of now, it is not completely gone, but we should expect some delays and some dilution in provisions.
So could you give us a bit of a scenario analysis? If it does get passed in its current state and form, what is the kind of benefit in terms of an upside? If it doesn't, then what's the kind of downside? And at the same time, if it does get passed with some sort of riders, what are those important riders that you're looking at? What is it that moves the needle the most?
So the Chinese companies, the large Chinese CDMO players, especially the WuXi group of companies, they are probably twice or thrice the size of Indian CDMO players all put together. That is the scale at which China operates in the CDMO market for the US large companies. If that business entirely shifts to India, it can be a big game changer. There will be a huge demand. We could see growth picking up for the entire CDMO companies and pricing also improving. But if that is not happening in a full way, if there are dilutions in the way the litigation is, the legislation is going to happen, then possibly the entire benefit may not come through. To what extent it comes and how it comes and over what period it comes is something which we will need to see when the fine print of the final legislation comes through. But whether it will justify the already run up share prices, which are already pricing in significant benefits coming from it, all that are things which we need to see as the final legislation takes place.
For the benefit of our viewers, if you're wondering, we constantly go on and on about the CDMO. What are we talking about? It's contract drug manufacturers, which is seen as a big opportunity now for Indian pharma. It used to be contract research and manufacturing. Now it's actual drug manufacturing that we're talking about here. That's really my question. Now, purely from an investor's perspective, if you want to have some pharma in your portfolio, should you look at these CDMO plays and hope for that opportunity to materialize? Or would you rather go with some of the, the large generic players like a Sun Pharma, Dr. Reddy, some of the larger companies? What would your preference be and why?
From a pure valuation perspective on the current business, the general pharma companies look more attractive and cheap at this moment. The pharma companies have corrected a bit over the last 2 months in the market sell-off. That has made the valuations even more attractive. But at the same time, there is still strong momentum in the CDMO companies. A lot of that is the narrative around growth picking up in a big way over the next 3-4 years. Whether that narrative plays out completely and results in such a J-curve takeoff in the growth and further upside to the stock prices is something which we will come to know for sure only 3 to 4 years from now. But till then, the momentum is likely to continue based on narratives around the Biosecure Act. But from a pure valuation and value play, the general pharma companies, including Dr. Reddy, Zydus Life, Sun Pharma, etc., look much more attractive.
All right, and just a couple of questions on 2 specific stocks. I'm not sure whether you track them or not. One is Glenmark. When he just did tell us about the Econos business of theirs getting clinical data from the first phase of tri-specific treat antibody. What does that do in their overall scheme of things? And the second one was on granules because of the US FDA issues at their Gagillapur unit on both those stocks.
Sure. The Glenmark phase 1 data for the antibody drug, which they just released, seems promising in an area of high unmet medical need. This drug is showing some certain promise. This is still early phase 1 data, but being an oncology drug, we also get a sense of the efficacy of the drug in the phase 1 itself. And as of now, it looks promising. It has to proceed further into further phase 2 studies and then phase 3 studies before we will get a full understanding of its potential. But at this stage, it does look very promising. And coming to granules, as you just mentioned, there have been issues at their major plant, which exports to the US, manufacturing quality issues. The company is trying to address those issues actively. The US FDA has already put the plant on OAI status. What action the US FDA will take is still awaited. A warning letter or an import alert are possibilities. A warning letter looks more of a possibility as of now, but we will have to wait for the US FDA to come back to us on that.
All right, just before we let you go, a quick one. Have you ascribed any valuation to the ICNOS business of Glenmark? Because they haven't ruled out a stake sale possibility or a partnership possibility in the near future.
I'm sorry, not really. We don't cover that.
Okay. All right, Bino, no issues. Thank you very much for all the perspective that you've provided this morning. Quite helpful. Appreciate you joining in. Okay, so we've got...